Kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. I'm Linda McIntosh and I work for Destination Queenstown as the Business Development Manager for Western Markets, which makes Australia a super important market to connect with. I'm going to be running through a pre-recorded session for you today on winter and ski for 2024, given it's just around the corner, for ANZCRO. So we've got a really great close relationship with the team at ANZCRO and the product. So I'm not going to touch too much product side of things, but I'm just going to give this as a really good overview of the winter and ski proposition for any clients that you might have coming to our corner of the world to experience a winter holiday, and obviously maybe with some ski inclusions. So I'm going to plunge right in. I'm going to try and keep this as quickly, as quick and a summary as I can for you. So we're going to go through a little bit about getting here, what our Queenstown map is, and just accessibility around the Wakatipu. We're going to break down the 4 main ski fields for you, heli skiing and boarding, accommodation options, what people can be doing for off-mountain days, downtown days if the mountains happen to be closed. A little bit of relaxation and wellness because everyone needs that after they've got tired sore muscles from being up the mountain. Day trips that people can do too, as well as just the lovely après ski and food and drink. So let's head right on in. So starting off with the Trans-Tasman and flight connectivity. Queenstown is an international airport for Trans-Tasman visitors. So it's a really nice, short, easy 3-hour flight, little over there from Brisbane and from the Gold Coast, but your main city centres, Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, 3 hours direct into our corner of the world. If people don't want to fly direct into Queenstown, obviously they don't have to. They've got the options also of connecting through Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, because perhaps you've got some people that do want to do a little bit of lower South Island driving and exploring some of the more club fields as well. Looking at proximity, Queenstown map here, this is a good one just to kind of orientate yourself with. Our airport is, and I will show you a photo on the next slide, it gives you a little bit more of an understanding of the geography, but beautifully picturesque. It's only about a 15-minute drive from the downtown of Queenstown along the Frankton Road. Right beside the Frankton Arm, a gorgeous body of water that's surrounded by mountains and certainly makes you feel like you've arrived in a gorgeous alpine town because your clients will have. Frankton also is just a nice sort of a centralized place. A lot of CBD businesses now kind of actually are located out toward the airport. There's a new accommodation as well out there with lots of places to eat and drink and go shopping, as well as just sort of like major kind of retail. From Queenstown, like I say, so Queenstown's really the epicenter of a downtown. People come to us thinking that we're some sort of massive resort town, but we're not. We're really just quite a small resort town by comparison of some big cities. But in terms of people who do stay central in that Queenstown area, and looking at the geography of the Wakatipu, if you've got people that want to explore, if they've got a rental car and they are wanting to drive around, we're about a 20-minute drive from Arrowtown, which is a beautiful kind of boutique area where the historical gold mining first originated. So a lot of beautiful history that sits out there with boutique kind of shops and beautiful little like delis and ice creameries and fudgeries, and the Queenstown Lakes District Museum is also there. So it's a very picturesque town. From Queenstown to Gibbston Valley is about 25 minutes. Now, Gibbston's known as our wine growing region. So it's a dotted highway with a lot of wine for exploration, whether or not people are catching a tour, whether that's a full day or a half day, or they're doing that independently or fully guided. And then up to the northern part of Lake Wakatipu comes up to a gorgeous little township called Glenorchy. It's about a 45-minute drive. Actually, the screen photograph behind me is actually of the Dart Valley, and just how Dart River Safaris they actually operate in the river braid in the picture behind me. But a 45-minute drive, and that gets you right on the edge of a World Heritage Area, so UNESCO World Heritage Area called Te Waihi Pounamu. It's actually the geographic of 2 national parks, Mount Aspiring and Fiordland, and we're really blessed to have this landmass on our doorstep. The whole 2 national parks, Te Waihi Pounamu, makes up about a third of New Zealand's landmass. So you'll see some pretty picturesque photos as we go through the presentation, but for people who are wanting to explore day trips, getting into these national parks are really well worth the visit for your clients. Oh, I've gone one too far. So just looking at this particular photo, I just want to give you that backdrop. Hopefully you've seen some iconic photos of Queenstown. This is the Remarkables mountain range, very aptly named, and it's certainly where you get off the runway at Frankton Airport. I'm not too sure if my little cursor's showing up on your screen. I'm circulating that area now. But it's kind of in the valley floor between an amphitheatre of mountains that are all around. And that little 15-minute drive that I'm talking along is basically along the reach of this body of water, the Frankton Arm, into the centre of town. So the centre of town's about 3 streets wide and by 3 streets deep. So I think really the biggest takeaway I have from people that might come here on familiar or feedback from clients is that they're used to coming from really big cities. So when they come here, they're like, wow, it's actually really quite small. So we're very easy to navigate getting around the downtown area. Obviously, you can see this beautiful alpine backdrop and outstanding contour of the lakeside location of Lake Wakatipu, and all of the accommodation that you can kind of see in the image is really kind of very close and centered to that downtown location, which just really makes it easy for people to get around. So just wanted to show that photo just to give people who haven't been here a little bit more of an orientation to what our alpine resort town does look like. But moving right along, so when it comes to skiing and snowboarding, for any of your clients that come here, they've got 4 ski fields to choose from. So I'm going to break them down each a little bit more individually. I'm a super duper ski enthusiast. I've lived in Queenstown now for 22 years. I've got 2 girls. They'll ride the chairlift with anyone nowadays and pop off them before any of their neighbours. So it's a really exciting place to live. Fabulous alpine environment. We're up most weekends skiing. So I've got a really good understanding of all of these 4 mountains. So as we get near the end and I share with you my contact details, you can always reach out to me if you just have any sort of hidden questions that you think Linda didn't answer. So please touch base. Our season runs predominantly from June through to mid-October. Obviously, that's all dependent to weather and snow conditions, but that's typically the season that you're looking for. So, and all really easily accessible. So the closest is about a 20-minute drive, that's Coronet Peak, and the furthest away is Treble Cone, that's about 90 minutes. So let's plunge in and first look at Coronet Peak because that's the closest ski field to town. So this is, as you can kind of see in the photograph here, so you're 25 minutes drive at most from the downtown location up to this mountain. I first actually had my first job in Queenstown working at this mountain, so I've got very fond memories of it, having worked there for 3 seasons. Obviously, as you can see in the imagery, spectacular location. Well, most mountains do, and you can obviously look down upon all of the Wakatipu Basin. But what makes this mountain particularly unique, other than it just being really easily accessible on a sealed road from town, is that it's got a really nice variance of terrain that's suitable from beginners to intermediates, right up to your advanced skier. But it's the only mountain in New Zealand that also offers night skiing. Night skiing is on Wednesday and Friday nights, 4 to 9 p.m. And that typically is from mid-June to the end of August. So it's a really great opportunity if you've got people here that even arrive in on those days, that they could actually even come straight up the mountain and actually give night skiing a go. Fabulous little kind of that après vibe in the base lodge, where you can order beautiful pizzas or just meals and have, like, you know, your mulled wine or your craft beer and just sort of have a few rides up and down the mountain. So it's definitely a must-do experience. It's really thrilling. You know, if you get weather like this on a night ski night and the stars all come out and all the twinkly lights of the Wakatipu Basin in Queenstown below, it's pretty special place to be. So the terrain's really, like I say, quite varied. In this particular mountain, I'm now just going to quickly go over to the ski area trail map for you, just so you can get a bit more of an orientation. They've got 3 chairlifts on the face of this mountain and a T-bar, and they've got 2 platter lifts, which make it really accessible for beginners. Now, the point I like to make out here for beginner ski, what makes it so easily accessible, is that it's literally like a 200-meter walk from the base lodge on the main deck to the beginner slope. So it's actually a really great place just if you've got children that are wanting to learn to ski, but maybe not the adults, or maybe that's the other way around. The ski kindy and creche is right there too. And just it's nice that you've obviously just got such an ease of access from that base lodge and all of the facilities. So your guest services where you're getting your tickets, where your lessons for ski start from, going through the rental department and getting all that fit out. There's a lovely little retail shop in there as well. And if you're getting bus transportation from downtown, that will actually deliver you right to the front door outside that base lodge, which just makes it super duper easy. Also good to note that if you do have the FIT and the person who's got the rental car, they can get really nice sort of close proximity car parks from that base lodge. Those insider tips, I always say it's really hard actually if you do have kids, because it's a lot of equipment, it's cumbersome, you know, to walk in and be bulked up in cold weather. Leverage the use of the car parking shuttles. So obviously you can walk into the base lodge, but yeah, it's really good that there's a lovely little regular schedule at the beginning and the end part of the day and in the middle part. So just, you know, you don't have to walk from your car park. You can wait for the convenience of a car park shuttle to pick you up and then drop you right outside that front door. Next mountain we'll go to is directly over the Wakatipu Basin to the other side. So this is south, and it's known as the Remarkable Ski Field. The Remarkable is actually quite aptly named. It's one of 2 mountains in the world that run perfectly north to south. So it is part of the Southern Alps that runs right down the course of the centre of the South Island. I really love this mountain, and I don't say that lightly. Like, I really love this mountain. This is my mountain where I'd be quite happy just to be laid to rest, but we won't get into morbid topics. This mountain's basically a north-facing 3 mountain bowls. You can kind of see them in the imagery here. What you're actually having in the photograph here in the initial part with the little magic carpet that goes in the protection of this lovely little tunnel is really great for all weather elements. So if you are a beginner skier and you just want to be out of, you know, the wind and the snow, obviously, because we can't always pick the best bluebird mountain days. And it's right there off of the main deck, off of the base lodge. So super duper easily accessible and really fun for anyone who wants to spectate too and maybe not participate in ski. You've got the main chairlift that goes up there that you can see through the center of the photograph. And they've also got the next progression of lunar lift, Lake Alta, which I'm not again too sure if my mouse is working, but if you can see where I'm pointing, that's the chairlift I'm talking about. So really nice, varied and gentle terrain. 3 bowls, like I've said, all very easily accessible to the base lodge. Base Lodge has spectacular views also back out over the Wakatipu Basin to the north, which then looks out toward Coronet Peak. So you can't quite see your neighbour's wave, but you can certainly see one mountain to the next, which makes us obviously that unique proposition. To get to the Remarkables, you're only looking at about a 45-minute drive. It's a really, again, nice cross-section of beginner to intermediate through to that advanced terrain again. So just really kind of nice to know that you've got some quite unique opportunity with Remarks. It feels to me, I would say, like big mountain skiing, whereas Coronet Peak, you're more sort of on the front face looking into the Wakatipu. Remarks, you're really up and you're in the mountain. So, and that north-facing proposition just makes it really sunny and quite sheltered from a lot of the weather patterns as well. Obviously, in the base lodge there, you've got all of like what I've mentioned at Coronet Peak, some incredible base lodge facilities there. You've got the guest services department. You've got a lovely rental area which you can be fitted out. It's all internal, so you're not having to go in and out of the base lodge. Lovely little retail boutique in there, and obviously when you come upstairs, then you're kind of in that food and beverage level, and it's just a beautiful big kind of wide open space, and half of the restaurant and cafe area look out up onto the Remarkables, as you see in the imagery, and then the other side of the building looks down through the Wakatipu Basin, so super duper picturesque. Car parking shuttle here is also available. You can park actually at the bottom of the access road and be driven right up to the front door, which I always recommend, like I say, you know, skiing is one of those sports that comes with a lot of bulk and equipment. If you have already previously rented gear, perhaps before you actually come up the mountain. So just taking note, if you can make it easy for your clients, always recommend that they just leverage that opportunity for car parking shuttles. If they don't want to just, you know, if they do want to drive up the access roads, if you car parking shuttles are a great way to get to the front door. If you do have people driving, they can drive and drop, and there's a lovely little drop zone there, so that's quite convenient as well, especially if you're either a large group or you're again with young ones, and then that person can go and allocate to drive the car back down the road, and then they can wait for the shuttle to come up to the access. I'm going to look a little bit here at their trail map with you as well. So again, you've got 4 chairlifts on this particular hill, again with platter lifts in the learner zone. You can see that proximity of the base building and then the designated parking zones as you're kind of heading up the mountain road. You can see there's a lovely variance of terrain right from beginner to intermediate to advanced. And I actually have put a slide in this presentation, which I'm really excited to share with you. Because whilst that won't be what's all under development, excuse me, for the moment, is the new Shadow Basin chairlift. So this one's actually going to be opening for 2024. So it's been a long time in the pipeline, this lift installation, and you can see kind of the geography of where it is in proximity to the base lodge and the new kind of height of access. It's going to open up a stack of terrain that hasn't otherwise been explored. Actually 50% more terrain on this Shadow Basin chairlift. So really good one to note, especially if you've got someone who's a repeat person coming to Queenstown and that they too love the Remarkables mountain range. This is going to be one to explore for winter 2024. Next up on the list is going to Cardrona. So Cardrona Alpine Resort's actually based up and over the Crown Range. They are about a 60-minute drive from Queenstown. If you have clients that are staying on the Wanaka side, you're only about 30 minutes drive. So it's really quite ease of position whether or not you do want to have people stay Queenstown or in Wanaka. I actually live in Wanaka, so I've done 22 years Queenstown, but just moved over to Wanaka last year. I get the blessing of hybrid work, and I really feel like I get the best of both worlds. So Cardrona's actually been our mountain resort for the family the last 2 seasons. They've got this fabulous facility. It is actually currently what they always term as probably New Zealand's most fun and family-friendly ski resort. They get really reliable snow conditions too. It's at a higher elevation, and because it sort of faces more south, it gets a really good dry level of snow that can be quite plentiful. Actually, in all ski fields have snowmaking, so it just sort of supports that consistency of the snow throughout the season as well. So in terms of just your split there, this is a really good mountain again for beginners and intermediates and advanced. There's 5 chairlifts and conveyor lifts for the beginner area. But this particular field, I think what I love the most about it, not that I partake in this, is they have the most extensive terrain park facilities in the Southern Hemisphere. So they've actually got 4 terrain parks, they've got 2 half pipes, and a gravity cross course as well. So this is like a mountain that you come to and it's like a spectator sport, because a lot of people from Northern Hemisphere doing a lot of competitions, or whether they're in Winter Olympics, they actually come here and use this as their training ground. So you have masses of big talent that is just always on this mountain. So I just find it certainly one that when you're on, you're actually just like, this is quite incredible. But the base lodge facilities, as you can see in this particular image, and in proximity to that car park, is really easy to access. You've got about 8 different facilities for food and beverage on this particular mountain. There's rentals, there's ski school. So you've got just really a spoil nature for choice. This 2 mountain as well is really great for the beginner, because just like Remarkables and Coronet Peak, it's really blessed that its beginner zone is right outside kind of the front door, which kind of makes it that lovely engagement if you've got people that are not wanting to learn to ski, or through instructor, you can check your kids in, or the adults, and you're just close proximity back to that base lodge if you're taking pause for the middle of the day to just break for some lunch before you go back out again for an afternoon lesson. Another unique point also about this mountain is that they do have on-mountain accommodation. They're the only one. There's 15 apartments in total in the building, and they range from a studio 2 or 3 and a 4-bedroom apartment. So as you can imagine, with only 15 apartments, they're exceedingly popular and will book out seasons in advance. So I'm just going to obviously make that note there so that you've got that understanding. But yeah, we're going to look at their trail map as well. So again, it just kind of gives you a little bit more of a support to understand just the nature of their terrain, which, like I say, is a really happy mix between that beginner, intermediate to advanced skier. And there's certainly nice ways that you can challenge yourself a little bit more on this mountain, which is actually probably the reason I love it the most. So they actually have 6 chairlifts on this particular hill. The McDougall's Chondala, which is the only one in New Zealand as well. So that's a mix up line where they've got the gondola cabins that you saw in the picture previous. They seat 8 people, mixed with chairs. So you've got a mix of your Chondala, which again, it's just good if you've got young kids and they're wanting to get into that first chairlift of progression. It keeps them out of the cold and those sort of elements of winter, which can be wind chill or just if it is snowy up there, yeah, just to obviously be a bit more comfortable. And then there's just nice development beyond that to the White Star Express, the Valley View Quad, Captain's Express Quad, and then the little inset photograph, which actually has just cut off a little bit, I do apologise for that, is the new Willows chairlift, which got installed a couple of seasons ago. It's a lovely little bit of additional terrain. There's no snowmaking out there, so that particular slope can actually just be a little bit dependent on, obviously, the weather and the snow conditions of the season, but it's a fabulous little asset. And then really exciting, and I'm going to share this with you too, because it's only just got announced yesterday. So what are we now, about the 15th of December, but this was got announced yesterday, the 14th of December, that Soho, which is the area that you can see in the darker shaded area, will be open for 2025. So this has been a redevelopment that they've had on the cards for quite some time. So I'm very excited to see this, that there's going to be a new 6-seater express chair, which will open up about 24% more terrain for this mountain. So it will be New Zealand's largest ski field by a mile, which is exactly very exciting. Yeah, so 24% more terrain overall for the resort. It's a real asset for them. So not this season for 2024, but the winter following. Yeah, they're doing all of that infrastructure and base changes now. So just one to watch. When we do this recording next year, I'll have a little bit more of an update and visuals as well to support you to learn a little bit more about that. Next up, and last but not least, is Treble Cone. So Treble Cone, also based on Wanaka side. It's about a 90-minute drive from Queenstown, and if you are in Wanaka with clients there, you are really only about sort of like a 40-minute drive up to the top of the mountain, maybe just under that really. There's only 2 chairlifts on this particular mountain. It's very unique. It is currently the largest ski area in the South Island. They're really like that uncrowded, groomed run. What that really provides the challenging nature of terrain. So this mountain's about 45% advanced and 45% intermediate. So it's definitely for the true ski enthusiasts who's well versed in ski to be able to come and ride this particular hill. There is actually a lovely little platter lift there for beginners. So it can be really nice if you are really advanced at ski, but you still want to have that beginner access for a young one or an adult, obviously, to learn to begin to ski on this mountain. If you've got some people that are a little bit more aggressive in their riding, or at least wanting that challenge. You know, Lake Wanaka itself is pretty spectacular. Just it's a very different kind of lake, as you can kind of see in the imagery. But you can really stand on top of this mountain and just feel like you're going to step off and you'll be flying. So it's very picturesque. But I think it's about 700 meters of vertical drop for anyone who's actually a ski enthusiast themselves. They've got New Zealand's longest groomed trails and really amazing free riding terrain. So if you have an incredible powder dump of snow, this is a mountain that you'll want to be tracking out pretty quick. I'm going to show you the ski area trail map as well. Like I say, you've got the two chairlifts here, the Home Basin Express and the Saddle Basin Quad. You can really see a lot of the black and the red trails here, which make up a little bit more of that kind of expert terrain, and then all of that Motor Tapu basin with all the black diamond and double black diamond runs. But it makes it certainly a pretty exciting place to hang out. The Saddle Basin can be very incredible for people who are into that real free ride in the set of terrain and really wanting that real vertical experience of big mountain ski. So, but like I say, you do actually have that little ease of access if rather than being on the platted little surface lift, that you have these lovely kind of green trails of Triple Treat, which actually I could lap that out all day, every day and be quite happy because it's just a lot of fun. Right, so coming up next, I just wanted to touch on heli skiing. Heli skiing is one of those things that some people think are just, oh, I'll never be able to do that. It's going to be beyond my capacity or my ability, but they obviously would listen to the catering needs of the client, the type of skier they are, how many runs they would be wanting to be doing. They can all be customized, and they can take you really into incredible backcountry that's otherwise inaccessible. Pack these gorgeous picnics, as you can see in the photograph. Maybe that's with a craft beer again, or a glass of bubbly as you break out in the middle of the day. But you can basically choose from a 2-run day up to 7 runs, which by the end of that, you'll definitely need probably an onsen hot pool. But yeah, so basically helicoptering, there's just a multitude of options, too many actually to name for that kind of backcountry terrain and untouched fresh powder, which is what people would be experiencing here. So, you would be making the Southern Alps your very own winter playground. So we're going to talk a little bit now just about accommodation that we've gone over the 4 ski fields. Accommodation's vast and it's offering for Queenstown, whether you've got people wanting to stay in a lower end, just a 3-star, or just a more sort of self-catered accommodation, to bed and breakfasts, serviced apartments if you've got larger groups or families that just really like to spread out, right down to those that just actually want to be in a hotel and walk downtown, but just have a nice hotel room with a beautiful view in which to base themselves. Most accommodations pretty good at servicing the ski market with drying rooms and other facilities for storage, and for car parking space too, if you do have people that are wanting to self-drive as well. So just good to note. When it comes to off-mountain adventures, just obviously you've got, again, a pretty big smorgasbord of offering. There's many things that make Queenstown unique. Adventure's certainly one of them. We're known for a bunch of world firsts, whether that's jet boating or paragliding or river surfing, or, Coronet Peak, which was the first commercial ski field. There's that real pioneering kind of technology and people here who seem to live hard and play hard. They're certainly out there in this beautiful playground that we get to call home. But in terms of translating that for an adventure for your clients, really you can customize that to be right to their interest, whether or not that's excluding food and wine, or it is that kind of high octane thrill adventure, if that's skydiving or bungee jumping. And then obviously you can come into more sort of passive activities, if that's zip lining, taking up a trip to Skyline Gondola, which they've just fitted the new gondola cabins that now is a 10-seater. So you can do, your lunches or your dinners up there. So there's many ways, if you've got people coming here for, say, 5 nights, 7 nights of ski, that they don't have to be skiing every day, but that they could still pick something to do that takes up just a couple of hours of their time on a downtown day. Or just, that could be a full day of wine touring, or that might actually just be, coming up and doing the Dart River. And good to note that in winter, there's not actually many activities that do stop. You're not obviously going to get out on your, rafting or river surfing like I just mentioned before. Maybe those are more for the sort of late springtime and into summer, but there's not a lot that they can't choose from. And that would be able to be pre-booked by you if they wanted to have that more coordinated approach to what their itinerary would look like for the time that they are staying in Queenstown. Next up comes the downtown days. Now I've kind of put this particular slide in here more just because obviously, when you're in an alpine town, there can be adverse weather that comes through, and you can have, mountains closed for a day. So just good to know that if obviously that is the case, that there are actually many things that you can still do indoors. Yeah, so obviously in the picture here, you've got the likes of iFly, but you could still be doing, the indoor golf karting. We've got Game Over where you can do go-karting and laser tag. There's indoor mini golf. So yeah, there's definitely good ways to just know that you can kind of have people, and obviously maybe they're not pre-bookable activities, but if people are asking you, what happens if the mountains shut? What can I do? What are the options of things that I can experience for my family, that we're going to be out there, we're adventuring, we're doing things, then these are the kind of things that you can obviously make suggestions of them for. I also always like to include a slide on relaxation and wellness, and that's purely just because the nature of ski, and when you're actually out there in the alpine playground, and you might be sampling these 4 ski fields, when it comes to a bit of relaxation and R&R, it seems to just be a really lovely complement of an activity. Onsen hot pools, this is the photograph that you're seeing. They are open like mid-morning right through till late at night. They offer transfers from downtown. You can also independently drive to this particular spot. It's very Instagrammable, as you can see. But we've not got just only onsen hot pools in town. There are a lot of accommodation that have spa baths. Kamana Lake House in particular has gorgeous spa pools that have beautiful elevated views over Lake Wakatipu. But there's some beautiful, sort of day spa and retreats that people can, book their massage or other treatments that they might like to have, couples massage and what have you. So you can certainly dial in a little bit of self-care, and to just sort of tiredly, if you've got needing to rest your bones and weary legs from too much ski. So that was relaxation and wellness. Next, I just wanted to touch on was day trips, because when people come to our corner of the world, and as you can see in this beautiful photograph here, which is of iconic Milford Sound, people do and would be missing on an incredible opportunity if, beyond ski and maybe doing some other exploration in Queenstown, they didn't want to maybe look at putting in a trip to Milford Sound. Just to obviously get the grandeur of what New Zealand's got some very iconic imagery for, and ease of access into, whether that be a full day trip or a scenic flight over into Milford. You've also got Glenorchy, which I'd mentioned earlier, which is up through the Dart Valley, 45 minutes drive from Queenstown. And there's lots of horse riding, the Dart River itself, but beautiful walking tracks as well that'll kind of touch into those national parks, and beautiful sort of area of outstanding landscape. Arrowtown's the other one, which I've also mentioned, that 20-minute drive from Queenstown. That's our sort of historical heritage town where the Queenstown Lakes District Museum is. And also just the beautiful sort of boutique shops and that sort of gold mining heritage time that we've come from. So you can really see that beautiful sympathetic restoration of buildings, and just feel like you really get transported into quite a different world. And then Gibbston, which is known as the Valley of Vines. So if we circle right back to that food and wine propositions, and just getting out there and nominating another day to explore other areas of the Wakatipu Basin, you really again have a quite vast array of option to customize that for your clients, itinerary as well. Next up, we're talking a little bit about après-ski. We certainly have an incredible vast volume of around the Wakatipu, Queenstown, including the likes of Arrowtown, places to eat and drink. There's actually over more than 150 bars and restaurants. So this particular image, obviously, this couple's right in downtown Queenstown, right by the lakefront. You get the snow-capped mountains. It's that kind of nature of being cozy in winter, where you actually have lovely blankets. There's outdoor fires. Beautiful Central Otago Pinot Noir, and then you can start fireside with a Pinot Noir and be raging into the night if you want to try one of the many bars and nightclubs as well. So again, many styles, suiting to all sorts of budgets there as well. So just really kind of good to know that after dark, we really become a thriving little exciting place to hang out in the downtown area. When it comes to restaurants, food and drink, again, we've got a pretty stunning backdrop with which we can then fuel people for their next day's adventures. Lots of food and drink options, lots of award-winning restaurants, a lot of innovative eateries that kind of cater for any occasion, whether that's your fine dining to more fun dining experiences. There's a lot of very talented local chefs that are really passionate about using local ingredients and really displaying those through the seasons to the best of their ability, which makes it just, we've got an abundant sort of selection of the season's freshest produce. So plenty of things to choose from when it comes to just obviously being off the mountain at the end of the day and actually choosing a place to enjoy a drink and a nice meal. Next up, I'm just going to share with you our travel trade resources. It would be remiss of me if I didn't. Basically, the way you would leverage us being your regional tourism office is that I am your eyes and ears on the ground here. So there's some ways I can keep you up to speed with all of the latest developments. That's through, first is our website. You can check those links out. We've got a whole bunch of great tools and training resource on there, some itinerary inspiration, some really good educational videos as well on our YouTube channel. You've got our Facebook group that if that's a means for how you like to understand and learn what's new, you can join our closed group there, which is obviously specific for travel sellers. And then there's our newsletter. So our newsletter, we just send that once every 3 months and we give you a full breakdown of the product development. So these will be things that you're already booking and that will give you the latest, whether that's accommodation or activities, aviation and connection, winter schedules and how they may change, and places to eat and drink. So it's a really good reference point just to kind of keep up to date with the latest and greatest, right down just to refurbishments of hotels. So that way you can kind of obviously just nominate a little bit of airtime, scroll through that newsletter and see what's new, take what you need and then leave the rest or consume it all. And then after all of that, obviously you've got access to reach out to me or the team here on email, or pick up the phone and give us a call. But yes, that trade newsletter, if you've not signed up and you'd like to receive, please feel welcome to do that. And I'll leave here for a moment just up on the screen our contact details. So like I say, I look after Western markets for business development. So you can reach out to me for any of the questions when it comes to winter and ski and that proposition for your clients and just to better understand it. Young C looks after our Asian markets and Rose supports the two of us in taking care of travel trade across the globe. So it's been great to be with you today and to share a little bit about winter 2024 and some pretty exciting developments that are also in there. Please reach out if I can be of any assistance at any time. I'd be only too pleased to help you. And until next time, I'll catch you later.